Have you ever noticed how small distractions quietly take control of your mind, pulling you away from your purpose even before you realize what is happening? And in that slow drift, you begin to feel as if your thoughts no longer belong fully to you. This audiobook will gently guide you toward understanding distractions, recognizing their patterns, and rebuilding a clear, steady mind. Chapter 1. The first battle begins. Distractions rarely arrive with noise. They come softly, slipping into your day when your mind feels slightly tired and searching for relief. They promise a moment of comfort that feels innocent at first, but slowly pulls you away from what truly matters. Over time, these subtle choices begin shaping your behavior without you realizing it. You tell yourself you will start again tomorrow, yet the same impulses return, bringing the same tension that makes you question your discipline. Each unfinished task adds a quiet weight to your chest, creating doubt about your ability to stay consistent. Slowly, you begin losing trust in your own focus. Distractions grow powerful, not because they are strong, but because they arrive at the exact moment your discipline softens. A single minute of escape expands into an hour, and that hour becomes a pattern quietly controlling your day. Soon you find yourself living confused, unsure why you feel scattered and drained. Yet beneath this confusion, a calm voice inside you knows your mind was never meant to be ruled by chaos. When you pause long enough to listen, you feel a gentle shift, as if clarity is waiting for you to reclaim it. That awareness alone becomes the first sign of strength returning. Your journey to regain control does not begin with force. It begins with understanding your patterns without judgment. The moment you recognize how distractions enter is the moment you gain the power to redirect them. And with every small choice toward awareness, your inner clarity grows stronger. You are not failing. You are learning how your mind operates, and this understanding becomes your greatest advantage. With each mindful breath, a little more peace returns, supporting you as you rebuild your focus. Slowly, gently, your mind begins coming back to you with stability and confidence. When distractions control your attention, they don't just steal time, they slowly reshape the way you think, making it harder to stay aligned with your deeper intentions. You notice yourself drifting even during simple tasks, as if something inside you keeps pulling you away. This creates a quiet frustration that slowly becomes part of your emotional weight. As this continues, your mind begins to chase comfort instead of clarity, choosing whatever feels easiest rather than what strengthens your long-term peace. These tiny choices feel harmless in the moment, yet they silently push your priorities further away. Over time, this shift becomes so subtle that you don't even realize how much control you have lost. You try to force yourself back into focus, but the pressure makes your mind search for the nearest escape, turning distractions into a reflex. This reflex grows stronger each day, training your brain to react instantly to anything that offers temporary relief. Slowly, you begin living in a cycle where escape feels natural and discipline feels heavy. But the truth is, your struggle is not a lack of strength. It is a lack of understanding of how your attention behaves under emotional strain. The mind seeks distraction when it feels overwhelmed, and without awareness, this becomes an automatic response. Once automatic, it begins shaping your entire day without your permission. Awareness is the first gentle break in this cycle, and it doesn't require judgment or guilt. It only requires noticing. When you watch your mind drift without reacting, you create a small space between impulse and action. In that space, clarity enters like a quiet breath of relief. With each moment of awareness, you weaken the power distractions once held over you, reclaiming a little more of your inner authority. These small victories might seem insignificant, yet they carry the strength of long-term transformation. Over time, they reconnect you with the discipline you thought you had lost. As you identify your triggers, the boredom, the tension, the emotional strain, you begin to understand what your mind is truly running from. This understanding acts like a soft, inner light that guides you back to your center whenever you feel yourself slipping. Slowly, your thoughts become steadier and your emotions calmer. You then realize that mastering distraction is not about fighting every impulse, but about learning the gentle art of choosing your attention. When attention becomes intentional, distractions lose their grip and your mind finds a deeper sense of stability. This stability becomes the foundation for all your meaningful efforts ahead. And with this awareness, Chapter 1 comes to a quiet close, leaving you stronger, more present, and better prepared for the journey ahead. You now carry a new understanding of your inner patterns and a renewed confidence in your ability to reclaim your mind. This awareness becomes the doorway to the next chapter of your growth. Chapter 2. Understanding the roots of distraction. Distractions rarely start with noise. They begin as tiny emotional shifts inside you, forming quietly beneath the surface. When pressure grows, the mind naturally searches for something easier to hold on to. In that search, distractions slip in unnoticed and begin shaping your behavior. Often you think you're avoiding work, but in truth, you are avoiding the discomfort connected to that work, which drains your mental energy. The fear of failing, the burden of expectations, or the uncertainty of the outcome creates a silent emotional weight. This weight makes even small tasks feel heavier than they truly are. A distraction feels harmless because it offers quick relief without effort, giving your mind a moment where nothing feels demanding. But this relief is temporary, and it silently pulls you away from your true direction. Over time, the comfort of escape becomes stronger than your intention to stay focused. When you understand this emotional pattern, the conflict inside you becomes clearer and less painful to handle. You begin to see distraction not as a weakness, but as a response to unspoken tension. This shift in perception creates space for patience and self-kindness. Your mind doesn't chase distractions because you lack discipline. It chases them because it is tired of carrying thoughts you haven't processed. Unexpressed stress makes even simple moments feel overwhelming, and overwhelmed minds choose what feels soothing, not what feels right. As you notice these triggers, you slowly reconnect with your inner world rather than drifting away from it. This connection stabilizes your attention and softens the emotional noise beneath your thoughts. Gradually, you begin regaining control over the moments that once slipped away. Every distraction carries a deeper story, sometimes stress, sometimes boredom, sometimes fear of not meeting your own expectations. Understanding this story brings clarity to choices that once confused you, and when clarity enters, distraction naturally loses its strength. When you stop fighting your impulses and begin understanding their roots, you create calmness instead of conflict. This calmness helps your mind stay steady even when the moment feels challenging. In that steadiness, your confidence quietly returns. As your awareness deepens, you teach your mind that it is safe to remain present without running toward escape. This gentle assurance rebuilds your inner discipline without force or frustration. And with each small moment of presence, your attention becomes stronger and more grounded. With this insight, Chapter 2 settles firmly into place, guiding you toward a clearer understanding of why distractions hold power. By knowing the roots, you begin reclaiming the control you once believed was slipping away, and your journey towards a focused, steady mind moves into its next stage. Once you recognize the emotional roots of distraction, you begin to see how deeply these patterns influence your daily choices. Your mind doesn't drift randomly, it drifts toward whatever promises the quickest relief from inner discomfort. And until you understand this drift, it silently shapes your entire day. Every time your attention slips, it is responding to a feeling rather than a thought, gently pushing you toward ease, even when ease works against you. This creates a cycle where you begin mistaking comfort for progress, believing temporary relief is enough to keep you moving forward. But soon you realize that relief without direction leads you further away from the person you want to become. To break this pattern, you must learn to sit with the discomfort that triggers distraction, even for a few seconds longer than before. This small pause teaches your mind that not every difficult feeling needs an immediate escape. Over time, this pause becomes a powerful moment where clarity re-enters your awareness. As you practice noticing your impulses, you begin understanding how quickly your mind reacts to emotional signals, often without your permission. These signals may come from stress, boredom, or even fear, and each one carries its own story. By listening to these stories, you reduce their control over your reactions. This awareness slowly reshapes your inner rhythm, making your attention feel steadier and more grounded throughout the day. You find yourself reacting less to distractions because you finally understand what they were protecting you from. And in that understanding, your mind gains the strength to stay present, even during moments of tension. When your emotions feel calmer, your attention becomes clearer, allowing you to complete tasks with a softness that once felt impossible. You begin to trust the rhythm of your own thoughts, rather than searching for a quick escape. This trust builds a quiet confidence that grows stronger with each small success. Your internal battles become gentler as you stop blaming yourself for drifting and start guiding yourself back with patience. This gentle approach removes the harsh pressure that once made focus feel exhausting. Instead, you experience presence as something peaceful rather than something forced. With consistent practice, the emotional triggers that once pushed you toward distraction begin losing their urgency. They no longer control your actions because you have learned to understand them instead of fear them, and understanding is always stronger than impulse. By the end of this chapter, you realize that your power over distraction begins with awareness, not resistance. When you see your triggers clearly, you're not fighting your mind, you're teaching it a healthier way to respond. And from this new understanding, your ability to stay focused becomes a natural part of your inner strength. Chapter 3. How your environment shapes your focus. Your environment shapes your mind quietly, guiding your attention toward calmness or distraction without showing its influence directly. Every sound, object, and movement around you affects the direction of your thoughts, and unless you notice this pull, it begins shaping your day without permission. The space you sit in carries an emotional tone, and your mind reacts to that tone the moment you enter it. A cluttered area makes your thoughts feel scattered because your brain processes every small detail. Over time, this constant processing weakens your focus. When your surroundings hold repeated triggers, noise, screens, unfinished items, your attention keeps breaking apart. Each break forces your mind to rebuild its rhythm again. Soon, distraction becomes easier than staying steady. But a calm environment offers a different influence, giving your mind a gentle place to settle. When your space feels clean and balanced, your thoughts move slowly and intentionally. In that slower rhythm, your focus quietly strengthens. Your surroundings reflect your emotional state, and your emotions reflect your surroundings, creating a cycle that affects your clarity. A heavy space makes your mind feel heavier, while an orderly space brings relief and direction. This cycle silently guides every moment. Small changes in your environment send your mind a message that focus matters. A cleared desk or softer lighting can shift your inner rhythm quickly. These simple adjustments reduce the pressure that once fed distraction. Removing unnecessary triggers gives your brain fewer places to wander, easing the urge to escape into unhelpful comfort. As the noise around you decreases, the noise inside you also softens. With that softness, attention becomes easier to hold. Designing your space intentionally helps you understand that discipline grows better when supported, not forced. Reducing chaos allows your mind to settle naturally, and in that settled state, even difficult tasks feel lighter. Taking ownership of your surroundings brings harmony between what you see and what you feel. This harmony lowers the emotional tension that once pushed you toward distraction. From that calm space, your focus begins to deepen. Realizing how your environment guides your attention gives you another step toward controlling your mind. A supportive space becomes a quiet partner in your journey toward clarity, and with each intentional choice, your focus becomes more stable, grounded, and truly yours. When you begin noticing how your surroundings influence your mind, you start understanding why some days feel naturally focused while others feel scattered. Your environment sets the emotional temperature of your thoughts before you even begin, and this quiet influence shapes how easily your attention stays grounded. The mind absorbs signals from everything around you, even the details you don't consciously register, and these signals guide your behavior. A chaotic space signals urgency and noise, making your thoughts rush and collide. But a calm space signals safety, allowing your mind to settle without effort. You may not realize it, but your environment can either support your discipline or weaken it subtly throughout the day. When distractions sit within reach, your impulses awaken instantly and pull your attention away. But when your surroundings feel intentional, your focus naturally strengthens without needing force. Creating a supportive environment doesn't require perfection. It requires clarity about what helps you and what drains you. Clearing a small area, removing one distracting object, or setting a simple routine can shift your entire mental tone. These small steps create a sense of order that your mind quietly appreciates. As your space becomes calmer, your inner state begins to mirror that calmness, making your thoughts feel lighter. The reduction of visual and emotional noise gives your attention fewer places to escape. And in that reduced noise, you begin experiencing a deeper sense of presence. Your mind grows stronger when your environment stops pulling it in 100 different directions, allowing your energy to move in one steady line. This steadiness makes tasks feel less overwhelming because your attention is no longer competing with constant triggers. Over time, this steadiness becomes your natural rhythm. When you intentionally protect your surroundings from unnecessary noise, you protect your mental clarity as well. Your mind learns to associate that space with focus rather than avoidance, and these associations quietly guide your behavior each time you return. Even small rituals, closing tabs, placing your phone away, or preparing your workspace, can strengthen your ability to remain consistent. These actions tell your mind that the present moment matters, and when the moment matters, distraction loses much of its power. With a supportive environment, your thoughts no longer need to fight for stability. Stability becomes part of the space you are in. This supportive structure reduces emotional friction and allows focus to grow naturally. And in that natural growth, your confidence begins to rise. As Chapter 3 reaches its close, you now understand how deeply your surroundings influence your attention and emotional balance. When you shape your environment with intention, you shape your mind from the outside in, and this awareness becomes a powerful step toward reclaiming control of your inner world. Chapter 4: The Hidden Cost of Constant Distraction. Constant distraction slowly reshapes the way you think, creating a mental fog that follows you even into quiet moments. You begin to feel tired without knowing why, as if your thoughts are carrying weights you cannot see. And over time, this invisible heaviness becomes part of your emotional rhythm. Each distraction demands a small shift of attention, and every shift drains a little bit of your mental energy. Your mind keeps jumping from one point to another, never settling long enough to find clarity. This constant movement leaves you feeling overwhelmed even when you haven't done much. As distraction becomes a habit, you lose the ability to stay with a single thought long enough to understand it fully. Your ideas break apart before they form completely, leaving you frustrated with your own thinking. And this frustration quietly affects how you see yourself. The hidden cost grows deeper when you realize how much emotional strength distraction steals from you each day. It prevents your mind from entering the calm states needed for creativity, patience, and problem-solving. And without those states, life begins to feel more stressful than it actually is. Small tasks start taking longer because your focus keeps slipping away before reaching completion. What should feel simple begins to feel exhausting, and this exhaustion makes you avoid tasks even more. This cycle silently reinforces the habit of distraction. Your confidence also begins to fade when you notice how often you drift away from your intentions. You start doubting your discipline, even though the real issue is not weakness, but overload. And this doubt becomes another emotional weight you carry. Relationships feel the impact too, because presence is the foundation of connection, and distraction pulls you away from that presence. When your mind is scattered, you struggle to listen deeply or respond with calm understanding. And this creates distance even in moments when you want closeness. The cost also shows up in your inner peace, which becomes harder to access when your mind is always moving. A restless mind rarely finds the quiet needed for reflection or emotional healing, and without that quiet, life feels rushed and unsettled. When you become aware of these hidden costs, you begin understanding that distraction is not harmless. It shapes your emotional quality, your relationships, and your confidence. This awareness becomes a turning point, opening a path toward a clearer and more intentional life. As Chapter 4 begins, you recognize that reclaiming your attention is not just about productivity. It is about protecting your emotional well-being. The more you understand what distraction takes from you, the more committed you become to regaining control. And this commitment marks the first step toward real inner clarity. As distraction shapes your daily rhythm, it weakens your ability to stay connected with your deeper intentions. You move through tasks without truly being present, as if your body works while your mind drifts elsewhere. And this slow drift removes meaning from the things you once valued. When your attention keeps breaking, the calm focus needed for clear decisions becomes difficult to access. Your mind begins reacting automatically, choosing whatever feels easiest in the moment. And these choices gently pull you away from your real direction. Over time, distraction creates an emotional fatigue that settles quietly into your thoughts, making everything feel heavier. Even enjoyable activities lose their richness because your mind cannot fully enter the moment, and this lack of presence leaves you with a subtle sense of emptiness. Your productivity declines not due to lack of ability, but because your focus keeps resetting before your efforts gather momentum. Each interruption forces you to rebuild the rhythm you just established, and repeated rebuilding slowly drains your motivation. Long-term goals suffer as well, because they need steady attention and emotional patience to grow. When distraction becomes a pattern, your goals feel distant and harder to reach, and this distance creates frustration you rarely speak about. You also feel restless because the mind is not meant to scatter endlessly. It needs time to settle and reflect. Without settling, your thoughts remain unanchored, floating without clarity, And this floating makes emotional understanding harder to find. Your confidence fades when you see how often your attention slips away from promises you made to yourself. You start blaming your discipline even though the struggle comes from overload, not weakness. And this self-blame becomes another quiet distraction. Deep rest becomes difficult because a scattered mind never slows down enough to recharge. Even in silence, your thoughts keep bouncing toward tasks, memories, and impulses. And this restless activity blocks the peace your mind needs to recover. With time, you realize that distraction does more than interrupt your day. It reshapes how you feel and how you move through life. It limits your growth by keeping your attention on quick relief instead of deeper progress. And this limitation holds back your inner strength. As this chapter closes, you understand that the real cost of distraction is not lost minutes, but the clarity and calmness you sacrifice without noticing. This awareness creates a powerful shift inside you, and from this shift, your desire to reclaim your mind grows stronger. Chapter 5. Rebuilding your focused mind. Rebuilding your focus begins with understanding that attention is not just a skill, but a relationship you create with your own mind. This relationship strengthens when you treat your thoughts with patience instead of pressure, and in that patient space, your attention slowly learns to return to you. When you start guiding your mind gently, it begins responding with trust rather than resistance. Your thoughts settle more easily because they no longer feel pushed or forced. And in that sense of ease, your focus gains a new level of steadiness. Focus grows best when your mind feels safe, calm, and unhurried, because a relaxed mind can hold attention longer without slipping. When you remove the pressure to be perfect, your thoughts have room to organize naturally, and this natural organization becomes the foundation of deeper concentration. Training your focus begins with small moments where you choose presence over habit, even for a few intentional breaths. These moments teach your mind to pause before reacting to distraction, and each pause becomes a quiet victory that strengthens your inner control. You begin noticing how different it feels when you return to a task with calm awareness instead of frustration. Calmness allows your thoughts to move in a straight line rather than scattering in every direction, and this straight line becomes the path that leads you back to clarity. As clarity grows, your mind starts understanding the difference between genuine rest and distracting escape. It begins choosing what nourishes your long-term peace rather than what satisfies a quick impulse, and this shift gradually reshapes your emotional balance. Small practices like slowing your breathing, grounding your senses, or completing one simple task at a time help rebuild your focus from within. These gentle actions remind your mind that order is possible even in busy moments, and your attention strengthens each time you create that order. When you treat focus as a companion rather than a battle, your inner resistance fades. You stop fighting your impulses and start guiding them with understanding. And this understanding brings harmony to the way your thoughts move. Your confidence returns as you witness your ability to concentrate improving little by little. These improvements may feel subtle, but they create lasting change in how you think, work, and connect with your goals. And this renewed confidence supports every step of your growth. As Chapter 5 begins, you realize that rebuilding your focus is not about control. It is about creating the internal conditions where your mind can function with clarity. When the conditions are right, your attention naturally aligns with your purpose. And this alignment becomes the first step toward a stronger distraction-free mind. As you continue rebuilding your focus, you begin noticing that attention strengthens through consistency, not intensity. Even small daily moments of presence gently retrain your mind, and this gentle training becomes far more powerful than any forceful push. You realize that your mind responds better when guided slowly, because slow guidance reduces the stress that once triggered distraction. A calm mind can absorb direction without resistance, and in that calmness, your focus grows more naturally. The more you practice returning to the present moment, the more familiar that state becomes for your thoughts. Presence starts feeling comforting rather than demanding, and with comfort, your attention stays grounded for longer stretches of time. Every time you catch yourself drifting and gently return, you strengthen the mental pathway that supports clarity. This pathway becomes smoother with each repetition, making distractions easier to navigate. And over time, returning to focus feels effortless. You begin understanding that focus is not about avoiding distraction, but about shortening the distance between drifting and returning. The quicker you return, the less power distraction has over your actions, and this ability to redirect becomes one of your greatest strengths. As your attention stabilizes, you notice your emotional balance improving because clarity reduces the tension you used to carry. Calm thoughts move with steadiness instead of jumping from one place to another, and this steadiness reflects in how you respond to challenges. Your productivity rises not from working harder, but from working with a mind that is fully present in each moment. A present mind completes tasks with far less effort because its energy flows in one direction, and that single direction creates progress more quickly than scattered attempts. With improving focus, your decisions become clearer because your thoughts are no longer clouded by constant internal noise. Clear decisions build confidence, reminding you that you can rely on your own judgment. And this confidence strengthens the foundation of your discipline. You also begin experiencing a deeper sense of peace because your mind is no longer fighting itself. When your attention stops battling impulses, your inner world becomes quieter and more harmonious, and in that harmony you feel emotionally lighter. As this chapter reaches its close, you see that rebuilding your focused mind is a journey made of small, intentional moments. These moments slowly reshape the way your thoughts move and the way your emotions settle. And with every step, you reclaim more control over the direction of your life. Chapter 6. Building Mental Boundaries. Mental boundaries protect your attention the same way physical walls protect a home, giving your mind a clear sense of what belongs inside and what must stay out. Without boundaries, distractions enter freely and shape your thoughts without permission. And over time, this lack of protection weakens your inner stability. The first step in building boundaries is recognizing that not every thought deserves your energy, and not every impulse requires a response. When you learn to separate urgency from importance, your mind becomes calmer, and this calm separation becomes the foundation of mental strength. Boundaries grow stronger when you practice saying "not now" to distractions, even in small moments. This simple pause teaches your mind that your focus has value. And each time you pause, you reinforce the idea that your attention belongs to you. These boundaries are not harsh restrictions, but gentle guides that help your mind stay aligned with your goals. They reduce the noise that pulls you into unnecessary tasks, and by reducing that noise, you create space for deeper clarity. When you set mental limits, your impulses lose the freedom to control your day because they no longer turn into automatic actions. The pause gives you enough room to choose intentionally rather than react emotionally, and this choice brings a sense of power back to your thinking. You begin noticing how boundaries protect your emotional energy, preventing you from jumping between tasks that drain your focus. With fewer interruptions, your mind rests more easily and regains its natural rhythm. And in that steady rhythm, you feel more balanced. Strong boundaries also help you stay present because they block the small triggers that once pushed your mind into old patterns. When these triggers lose access, your attention becomes less scattered. And this reduction in scattering gives you space to think clearly. When your mind understands that you will not follow every impulse, it begins choosing more carefully, conserving energy for what matters. This careful choosing strengthens your discipline without forcing it, and with stronger discipline, your confidence naturally rises. Mental boundaries also support your emotional well-being by protecting you from overwhelm, because distractions no longer flood your mind all at once. Instead, you face moments one at a time with clarity and calm awareness, and this calm approach makes each task feel lighter than before. As Chapter 6 begins, you see that boundaries are not limitations. They are anchors that keep your mind steady in a world full of noise. They give you control over your attention, your choices, and your emotional direction. And with these anchors in place, you move closer to a life guided by clarity rather than distraction. As your mental boundaries grow, you begin noticing how they reshape the way your thoughts move throughout the day. Your mind feels less rushed because it no longer reacts to every signal around you. And this reduction in reaction creates a peaceful space where clarity can form. Boundaries teach you to choose your focus deliberately rather than allowing impulses to decide for you. This choice strengthens each time you stay present despite the pull of distraction. And with every moment of presence, you reclaim a part of your inner authority. You begin understanding that boundaries are a form of self-respect, showing your mind that your attention is valuable. When you treat your attention with value, your mind becomes more careful with where it wanders, and this carefulness leads to deeper consistency. These boundaries also reduce emotional noise because they prevent scattered thoughts from piling up at once. Instead of being overwhelmed, you handle one moment at a time with gentle awareness, and this gentleness brings ease back into your daily rhythm. When your boundaries are clear, you stop feeling guilty for ignoring distractions because you understand that protecting your focus is necessary, not selfish. This shift removes unnecessary emotional pressure from your day, and without that pressure, focus becomes lighter. With strong boundaries, your mind learns to filter thoughts automatically, recognizing which ones deserve attention and which ones do not. This automatic filtering reduces the mental clutter that once slowed you down, and in that reduced clutter, your thinking becomes clearer. Each time you hold your attention steady, you teach your mind a new pattern, one that favors intention over impulse. This pattern grows stronger with every repetition, creating stability where instability once lived. And this stability becomes a powerful source of confidence. Your boundaries also help you protect your emotional energy from draining situations or habits. When you honor what your mind needs, it rewards you with more clarity and calm engagement. And this engagement brings purpose to even simple actions. As your inner structure strengthens, distractions lose the persuasive power they once held because your mind no longer responds automatically. You begin choosing what aligns with your goals rather than what feels immediately comforting. And these choices quietly shape a more focused life. As this chapter settles, you realize that building boundaries is not about restricting your freedom. It is about creating the mental space where your best self can grow. With each boundary you honor, you strengthen your connection to clarity, discipline, and emotional peace. And from this strength, your mind moves confidently into the next chapter of your journey. Chapter 7. Strengthening your inner discipline. Inner discipline is not built through pressure. It grows through gentle consistency that teaches your mind to trust your direction. When your thoughts trust your direction, they begin settling more easily into the tasks that matter. And in that steadiness, distraction loses much of its influence. Discipline grows stronger when you commit to small actions that reinforce your focus each day, even if the actions seem simple. These small steps create a rhythm your mind learns to follow, And with each repetition, that rhythm becomes more natural and reliable. You begin understanding that discipline is not about forcing yourself into hard work, but about aligning your attention with your intentions. When alignment is clear, your mind feels less resistance because it knows where it is going. And clarity always reduces the weight of effort. Being disciplined also means honoring the promises you make to yourself, especially the small ones. Each kept promise strengthens the bond between your intentions and your actions, and this bond becomes the foundation of lasting mental strength. Your inner discipline deepens when you learn to face moments of hesitation without escaping into distraction. Hesitation loses its power when you stay present long enough to see it clearly. And once seen clearly, it becomes easier to move through. With practice, you begin noticing how your mind responds when you start a task without waiting for the perfect moment. Action creates movement, and movement breaks the grip of distraction. And once momentum begins, your focus follows naturally. Inner discipline also grows when you forgive yourself for slipping and return calmly to your purpose. Self-forgiveness prevents your mind from drowning in guilt, which often pulls you further into distraction. And a light mind focuses far better than a burdened one. As you strengthen your discipline, your emotional balance improves, because each focused action brings a sense of control and stability. You no longer feel lost in the noise that once surrounded your thoughts. And this stability gives you the confidence to handle more with less stress. The more you practice staying committed to your direction, the more your mind learns to prioritize long-term clarity over short-term comfort. This shift slowly transforms your habits and the quality of your attention. And these transformed habits guide you toward a life with deeper purpose. As Chapter 7 begins to unfold, you realize that discipline is not a restriction, but a bridge leading you from intention to achievement. It gives your mind a steady path to follow, even when distractions surround you. And with this bridge in place, your journey toward a focused, peaceful mind becomes stronger and more certain. As your inner discipline grows, you start realizing that focus becomes easier when your mind feels supported rather than controlled. A supported mind follows direction with far more ease because it understands the purpose behind each action. And this purpose guides your attention like a steady inner light. You begin noticing that your thoughts drift less when you approach tasks with calm preparation instead of pressure. Preparation gives your mind a gentle starting point, reducing the resistance that once pushed you toward distraction. And with less resistance, your focus deepens naturally. Every disciplined choice you make rewires your inner habits, teaching your mind to value long-term clarity over short-term comfort. These choices may seem small, but they shape your daily rhythm in powerful ways. And over time, this rhythm becomes a strong foundation for consistent focus. You learn that discipline is strengthened not during moments of motivation, but in moments when motivation fades. These are the moments when your attention is tested and your habits take the lead. And when strong habits guide you, distractions lose much of their influence. When you stay committed to your direction, even in low-energy moments, you create a quiet form of strength that does not rely on emotion alone. This strength is steady, stable, and deeply grounded. And grounded strength becomes one of the most reliable tools for focus. Inner discipline also grows when you simplify your decisions, because fewer decisions mean fewer chances for distraction to intervene. Simplifying your choices removes the mental weight that once scattered your attention. And with lighter thoughts, your mind stays undivided. You begin experiencing the power of routine, which eliminates uncertainty and creates a familiar path for your attention to follow. Routine reduces the effort required to start, because your mind already understands what comes next. And this ease allows discipline to feel natural instead of forced. As your discipline strengthens, you feel a subtle confidence rising from within, reminding you that you can guide your thoughts even when they begin to wander. This confidence reduces the fear of losing control that once fed distraction, and without that fear, you focus with more freedom. You also learn that discipline thrives when balanced with rest, because an exhausted mind cannot hold attention no matter how strong your intentions are. Rest restores the clarity needed to choose wisely instead of reacting impulsively, and restored clarity makes discipline sustainable. As this chapter moves forward, you see discipline not as a demand placed on your mind, but as a supportive structure that keeps you aligned with your deeper goals. It anchors your attention in the midst of noise and uncertainty, and with this anchor in place, you continue moving toward a life guided by intention rather than distraction. Chapter 8. Managing Digital Distractions. Digital distractions are some of the most powerful forces pulling your mind away because they are designed to capture attention instantly. Every notification, icon, and alert works like a small tap on your thoughts, inviting you to shift focus. And without awareness, these tiny taps slowly take control of your day. Your mind reacts quickly to digital triggers because they offer instant stimulation that feels rewarding in the moment. This reward creates a loop where your attention keeps returning even when you don't truly want to. And over time, this loop becomes a habit that feels almost automatic. Managing digital distractions begins with understanding that your devices are tools, not companions, and they should not guide your emotional rhythm. When you take back this role, your mind feels less dependent on constant digital noise, and that reduced dependence creates space for clarity to grow. You start noticing how often you reach for your phone without a real purpose, driven more by habit than intention. This unconscious movement breaks your focus before you even realize what happened, and each broken moment weakens the flow your attention was building. Setting digital boundaries helps your mind breathe by reducing the interruptions that once scattered your thoughts. Even small steps, like silencing notifications or placing the phone away, can create a noticeable shift in your focus. And these shifts gently rebuild your ability to stay present. When you limit digital distractions, you also limit emotional overload because constant online noise fuels comparison, urgency, and restlessness. Reducing this noise allows your inner world to settle, and a settled mind becomes far harder for distractions to control. You begin to see that every digital glance carries a cost, even if the moment feels small. It takes time and energy for your mind to return to the depth it had before the interruption, and repeated interruptions make that return slower each time. Replacing digital impulses with intentional pauses teaches your mind a new pattern, one where presence becomes more rewarding than quick stimulation. These pauses create a healthier rhythm inside your thoughts, and in that rhythm, you regain emotional balance. As you gain control over your digital habits, you start experiencing moments of peace you didn't realize you were missing. Your attention feels lighter, your thoughts feel clearer, and your mind stops rushing from one impulse to another. And this quiet clarity becomes a source of inner strength. As Chapter 8 begins, you realize that managing digital distractions is not about rejecting technology, but about reclaiming your attention from the parts of it that weaken you. With each mindful choice, you protect your focus and rebuild your ability to think deeply, and from this protection, a stronger, calmer mind continues to emerge. As you grow more aware of digital distractions, you begin noticing how deeply they influence the pace of your thoughts. Your mind starts moving faster than your intentions, pulled forward by constant stimulation. And this fast pace makes it harder to settle into meaningful focus. Digital noise also affects your emotional balance, because quick updates and endless scrolling create tension your mind cannot fully process. This tension builds quietly, making you feel restless even when nothing stressful is happening. And that restlessness becomes a doorway for more distraction. When you reduce digital interruptions, you begin experiencing the value of silence again, a quality your mind has been missing without realizing it. Silence allows your thoughts to breathe and expand gently, and in that gentle expansion, clarity forms naturally. You start noticing how your mind feels lighter when you check your device with intention instead of impulse. Intention creates a boundary that protects your emotional energy, and protected energy helps your focus remain stable. The more control you gain, the more you understand that digital distractions are not powerful on their own. They gain power when your mind is tired or unanchored. When your mind feels grounded, these distractions lose their pull, and grounding becomes easier each time you practice mindful awareness. You begin to see that your attention is not a scattered resource, but a precious one, and every moment you guard it strengthens your discipline. This discipline makes it easier to resist the urge to check for updates or seek stimulation, and with fewer urges, your thoughts become calmer. Replacing quick digital habits with slower, intentional activities creates a healthier inner rhythm. This slower rhythm allows your mind to reconnect with deeper emotions instead of living on the surface. And in that reconnection, peace begins to return. You also realize that digital breaks are more refreshing when they happen on your terms, not from sudden impulses. Choosing when to disconnect or reconnect gives you emotional control, and emotional control makes distraction far less tempting. As your digital habits improve, you begin experiencing moments of clarity that feel almost new, moments where your mind feels steady and your thoughts feel organized. These moments show you how capable you truly are when distraction is reduced, and this capability builds quiet confidence. With this chapter moving forward, you understand that managing digital distraction is a lifelong practice, not a one-time decision. Each mindful choice protects your inner space and strengthens your sense of direction. And with each choice, your mind moves further toward a life guided by clarity rather than constant noise. Chapter 9. Learning to return to the present moment. Returning to the present moment is one of the most powerful skills you can build, especially when distractions try to pull your attention away. The present moment anchors your thoughts and gives your mind a stable place to rest, and in that stability, clarity begins to grow. You learn that presence is not about forcing yourself to stay still, but about gently guiding your thoughts back when they drift. This gentle guidance teaches your mind that it is safe to return without judgment, and when safety replaces pressure, focus becomes easier to maintain. Presence becomes stronger each time you pause and notice where your attention has gone rather than criticizing yourself for drifting. This pause creates a window for awareness to enter, and through awareness, your thoughts naturally settle. The body also helps you return to presence, because slow breaths and relaxed movements signal your mind to calm down. When your breath slows, your thoughts follow its rhythm, and in that slower rhythm, distractions lose their urgency. You start realizing how grounding it feels to truly experience the moment you are in, instead of rushing past it. Being fully here reduces the emotional clutter that often clouds your mind. And with less clutter, your thoughts become easier to guide. Presence strengthens when you focus on one task at a time, giving it your full attention without competing thoughts. Single tasking creates a steady path for your mind to follow, and the steadier the path, the less room distraction has to enter. Returning to the present moment also creates emotional clarity because it stops your thoughts from drifting into fears of the future or regrets of the past. When you stay here, the noise inside you softens, and in that softness, you rediscover your inner calm. This practice reshapes how your mind responds to stress, because presence replaces panic with perspective, Instead of reacting quickly, you respond with intention, and intentional responses strengthen both your discipline and your peace. As you spend more time grounded in the moment, you begin feeling a sense of connection with your thoughts rather than conflict. This connection helps you understand what your mind needs instead of fighting it. And understanding always leads to deeper focus. As Chapter 9 begins, you recognize that the present moment is not just a place to rest. It is the space where your power truly exists. Every return strengthens your clarity, stabilizes your emotions, and weakens the pull of distraction. And with each return, you move closer to a mind that is fully your own. As you continue practicing presence, you start noticing how often your mind drifts into places that offer neither clarity nor peace. These drifting moments used to control your emotional rhythm without you understanding why. And now, each moment of awareness helps you pull your thoughts back gently. You begin realizing that the mind wanders most when it feels unsettled or overloaded, searching for comfort in familiar distractions. But this comfort is temporary and quickly replaced by more noise, and awareness becomes the only doorway that brings your attention home. Each time you return to the present with intention, you strengthen the mental pathway that supports calm focus. This pathway grows smoother as your mind learns to trust the act of returning. And with trust, your ability to stay grounded increases naturally. The practice of coming back teaches you that distractions are not signs of failure, but reminders of where your attention needs support. Instead of frustration, you now respond with patience, and patience protects your emotional energy from unnecessary tension. Presence also improves your relationship with yourself, because staying in the moment allows you to observe your thoughts without fear or judgment. This gentle observation creates an inner openness that feels both calming and empowering. And in that openness you reconnect with your true intentions. Your attention grows stronger when you bring your senses into the moment, feeling your breath, noticing sounds, or observing the space around you. These simple actions pull you out of your inner noise, and once the noise settles, your clarity returns. You also see how presence helps you think more clearly, because your mind is no longer tangled in future worries or past memories. Instead, it operates from a grounded place where decisions feel lighter, and from this lightness, emotional balance becomes easier to maintain. With practice, returning to the moment begins to feel natural rather than forced, like a home you can always come back to. Your impulses lose the power they once held because you now recognize them before they pull you away. And recognizing them gives you the freedom to choose. This growing ability to return shapes your confidence, reminding you that distraction cannot control a mind that knows how to come back. Each return becomes an act of strength, not struggle. And through these small acts, your inner focus becomes more resilient. As this chapter nears its close, you understand that presence is not perfection. It is the willingness to return again and again. Each return builds clarity, steadiness, and emotional calm. And with this steady calmness, you move toward a life guided by awareness rather than drift. Chapter 10. Creating a life that supports focus. Creating a focused life begins with shaping your daily patterns so your mind feels supported instead of overwhelmed. When your routines align with your intentions, your thoughts naturally move with steadiness, and in that steadiness, distraction loses the control it once held. You learn that focus thrives in a life where your actions, environment, and mindset work together rather than compete. When these elements support each other, your attention feels lighter and more stable, and a stable mind becomes far harder for distractions to pull away. Small, consistent habits form the backbone of a focused life because they remove uncertainty and create clear structure. Structure reduces the mental friction that once scattered your thinking, And with less friction, your energy flows more smoothly into the tasks that matter. You begin noticing which moments drain you and which moments strengthen you, allowing you to design your day around clarity instead of noise. When you honor what gives you energy, your focus becomes more reliable, and reliable focus builds emotional confidence. Creating a focused life also means removing commitments that do not align with your deeper values, because unnecessary obligations weaken your attention. Clearing them creates space for what truly matters, and in that space, your intentions gain strength. You understand that rest is not separate from focus, but a vital part of sustaining it, because a tired mind cannot hold attention no matter how disciplined you are. Rest refreshes the clarity needed to think deeply and act intentionally, and refreshed clarity prevents distraction from slipping in. You begin approaching tasks with purpose rather than pressure, knowing that pressure creates tension while purpose creates direction. Direction gives your mind something meaningful to follow, and meaningful direction keeps your attention anchored. As you build a life that supports focus, you start replacing rushed routines with slower, intentional transitions that calm your thoughts. These slower transitions help your mind shift without losing balance. And in that balanced shift, distraction becomes easier to resist. Your emotional world becomes more settled because a well-structured life reduces the chaos that once pushed your thoughts in too many directions. With less chaos, your mind feels more stable and available for the moment in front of you, and this availability deepens your sense of presence. As Chapter 10 begins, you realize that creating a focused life is not about removing all distractions, but about strengthening the conditions that allow clarity to thrive. When your life supports your mind supports your purpose. And with this harmony, you take another strong step toward lasting inner control. As you continue shaping a life that supports focus, you begin to see how every intentional choice strengthens your inner direction. These choices slowly replace the scattered patterns that once controlled your days, and through this replacement, your mind learns to move with greater purpose. You realize that your focus is not built in a single moment, but across countless small decisions that guide your attention toward clarity. Each decision creates a gentle push toward the life you want to live. And with every push, the weight of distraction becomes lighter. Your thoughts begin feeling more organized because your routines create a stable rhythm that supports mental calmness. This rhythm reduces the emotional noise that once made you feel overwhelmed. And as noise fades, your presence becomes easier to hold. You grow more aware of the times your attention naturally weakens, allowing you to adjust rather than fall into old patterns. These adjustments keep you aligned even when life becomes busy. And in that alignment, your confidence quietly strengthens. Designing a focused life also teaches you the importance of choosing what deserves your attention and what does not. This selective awareness saves your energy from being wasted on unnecessary noise, and saved energy becomes the fuel for deeper focus. You start noticing how meaningful it feels when your actions match your values, because alignment brings emotional peace. Peace reduces the temptation to escape into distractions, and without that temptation, your mind remains more anchored. Even your inner self-talk begins to change as you support your mind with compassion rather than pressure. Compassion softens your thoughts and reduces the stress that once triggered distraction. And softened thoughts create space for clarity to grow. Your sense of purpose becomes clearer because you are no longer pulled in a dozen directions at once. Direction turns into a quiet companion that guides you through each day. And with that companion, your mind feels far more stable. As your life becomes more intentional, you realize how much power you actually hold over the shape of your thoughts. This realization shows you that distraction was never stronger than you. It only felt strong when your inner world was unstructured. And now, with structure, you move with confidence. As this final chapter settles, you understand that a focused mind is not about escaping distraction, but about building a life where your attention feels at home. Each choice you make supports the clarity you seek, shaping a mind that is calm, steady, and truly your own. And with this understanding, you step forward into a life guided by awareness, purpose, and lasting inner peace.